She said the vows meant for peace, to an alpha who needed leverage, not love. Her true mate stood beside him, silent, watching, bound by a loyalty that nearly destroyed him. But bonds don't bow to crowns. And when hers finally answered, no treaty was strong enough to hold it back. Aria stood at the long table, hands braced on the scarred wood as if it could anchor her. The map spread beneath her palms was torn in 3 places, edges burned where raids had pushed too close to home. Red ink marked lost patrols, black ink circled disputed borders. Her father's voice cut through the low murmur of the council. "We can't hold another winter like this," Alpha Calder said. "Not with our numbers and not with our wounded." Aria lifted her gaze. His shoulders looked heavier than they had a year ago. New lines cut around his mouth. The war with Blackridge had carved those into him. "The scouts saw their banners on the ridge again," Beta Duran added. "They're testing our defenses. They know we're tired." A cold draft slid under the door, drawing the scent of snow into the war room. Aria straightened. "So, what's their offer?" she asked. Silence rolled over the table. Her father's eyes met hers. He didn't look away. He had never lied to her. He wasn't going to start now. "An end to the raids," Alpha Calder said. "Shared patrols at the border. A trade route opened through the pass." His jaw tightened. "And a marriage." The word dropped between them like a blade. Aria's pulse kicked hard. "A marriage," she repeated. "Whose?" "Yours," Joran said quietly. Her wolf pushed up inside her chest in instant protest. Heat rushed through her face. "To whom?" "Draven Blackridge," her father said. "Alpha of the Blackridge pack. He wants a blood tie. He wants my daughter as his Luna." The name was a cold slap. Everyone knew it. Draven, who never backed down from a fight. Draven, whose warriors never took prisoners if they could help it. Draven, whose territory cut Silvercrest off from the lowland markets and strangled their trade. Aria swallowed hard. "So I'm the price." "You're the bridge," Calder said, "if you agree." He didn't say what they all knew. If she refused, the war would continue. Their injured would keep stacking up. Their supplies, already thin, would stretch past breaking. Her fingers curled against the wooden table. "How many have we lost this year?" she asked. Joran exhaled. 17 in battle, 9 to injuries that never healed. 4 to the cold when patrols were trapped out in storms. The numbers pressed against her ribs like stones. Aria shut her eyes for a moment. She saw faces, warriors who had taught her to throw a knife, Omegas who had tucked her in when her mother died, young wolves who should have been worrying about first shifts and not border raids. Peace. That was the word on the letter from Blackridge. Peace in exchange for her. Her father watched her like a man waiting for a verdict. "I don't ask this lightly," he said. "If there was another way—" "But there isn't," she said. His throat worked. "Not one that doesn't cost more blood." Aria lifted her chin. "What guarantees does he offer?" "Hostages exchanged for the first year," Joran said. "His second-in-command remains here. One of ours goes there. Joint patrols, shared authority over the pass. It's all written out. Draven is a brute, but he's not stupid. He knows this treaty is worth more than another season of dead wolves." "And I go there," Aria said. Calder nodded once. "You would leave at the next full moon. The bonding ceremony would take place under their laws and ours, on the border. After that, you'd live in Blackridge territory as their Luna." Her wolf recoiled at the thought of calling another pack home. But right behind the recoil was something steadier. A sense of duty shaped by years at her father's side. She had grown up in this war room. She had watched maps change, borders shrink, ration lists lengthen. She had always known there might come a day when her life would be part of the bargaining table. "Will you be safe?" her father asked quietly. Not as Alpha now, but as a father who had only one child left. Aria looked at the map again. red markers scattered near their border, small, painful reminders of what war cost. Then she looked back up, spine straight. "Safer than we are if we keep bleeding out like this," she said. "Send word. I'll do it." Calder flinched, just a fraction. "Aria, there's no one else you can offer," she said, calm and clear. "No one with more weight than your heir. He knows that. You know that. So yes, I'll marry him." Her wolf paced in circles under her skin, angry, but not at her. Angry at the situation, at the rival Alpha, at the fate of their pack being bound to the name Draven. Aria put a hand over the map, palm flattening over the border that had been fought over for years. "If this ends it," she said, "then it won't be for nothing." The news spread through Silvercrest like a winter storm. Some wolves bowed their heads when Aria passed, respect heavy in their eyes. Others stared with anger, not at her, but at the idea of giving anything to Blackridge. A few refused to look at her at all, because it hurt too much to see their Alpha's daughter offered to a rival. She trained harder in those days before the full moon. Not because she expected to fight, because it kept her from thinking too much. Daggers flew true from her hand into the practice posts. Her muscles burned from drills with the warriors. Her lungs ached from long runs in wolf form along the ridge, memorizing every line of her home. On the last night before departure, she stood alone at the overlook above the valley. Snow lay thick on the trees. The moon hung low and bright. Joran approached quietly. "We ride at dawn," he said. "I know." Draven sent his demands for the escort. "He wants you escorted to the border with 10 warriors only. No more." "Does he think we'll start a war on the way to ending one?" Aria muttered. "He thinks like a man who trusts no one," Joran said. "Maybe that's kept him alive." Aria wrapped her cloak tighter. "What do you think of him?" Joran took his time answering. "He's a good tactician," he said. "A cruel one. He keeps order through fear. His wolves respect strength and survival. Mercy doesn't rank high on their list." Her wolf growled low in her chest. "I'll manage," she said. Joran studied her. "You're stronger than you think," he said. "But strength doesn't mean you have to carry this alone. We don't stop being your pack just because he calls you Luna." His words landed in a place she hadn't realized was empty. "Thank you," she said. When dawn came, Silvercrest lined the courtyard. Warriors in worn leather, elders wrapped in wool, Omegas with red hands from work and cold. Her father waited by her horse, hands gloved, expression tight. "You can still—" he started. "I'm going," she said, steady. He nodded, accepting what he already knew. He leaned in and pressed his forehead to hers for a brief moment, scent of pine and smoke wrapping around her. "If he ever raises a hand to you," Calder said, voice quiet but sharp, "send word. Treaty or not, I'll burn his stronghold down." Aria's chest squeezed. "I know." The ride to the border was long and cold. Snow fell in steady sheets, softening the world into gray and white. The trees thinned as they neared the pass. Black ridge banners snapped in the wind up ahead, dark sigils against the snow. Draven stood at the center of his warriors when they arrived. Broad-shouldered, harsh-faced, eyes like chips of ice. His dark hair was pulled back in a leather tie. Heavy furs wrapped his frame. There was no trace of warmth in him. "Alpha Calder," he said, voice deep, carrying easily. "You came." "I said I would," Calder replied. "You have my daughter's future in your hands, Draven. Handle it carefully." Draven's mouth curved, not in kindness. "I handle what's mine as I see fit." His gaze moved to Aria. She let him look, her chin a fraction higher. His eyes took in the way she sat her horse, the weapons at her belt, the silver crest stitched into her cloak. Something flickered behind the ice. Approval, maybe, or calculation. "So this is my bride," Draven said. "You didn't tell me she was pretty, Calder." "She's more than that," her father said. "I'll find out," Draven replied. Aria met his eyes and held them. "Alpha Draven," she said. "If we're to do this, we should begin." His brows lifted slightly at her bluntness. Then he chuckled once. "You'll do." He gestured toward the stone altar set up between their lines. The treaty would be sealed here, in neutral ground, under the full moon when it rose. As they dismounted and moved toward the altar, Aria felt it. A faint tingle at the back of her neck, a shift in the air, not from Draven, from somewhere behind him. Her wolf went still, then turned, sharply, inside her. Her gaze slid past Draven's shoulder and caught on a figure half a step back from the front line. Taller than most, dark hair falling loose to his shoulders, jaw shadowed with a short beard. He wore Blackridge colors, but his stance was different, less rigid, coiled, like a wolf ready to leap in any direction. His eyes met hers. The world narrowed to that point. Power surged through her like a lightning strike. Her breath caught. Her wolf lunged forward with a snarl of recognition, so fierce it almost buckled her knees. Mate. The word wasn't spoken out loud. It burned through her bones. His eyes widened. For a heartbeat, something raw and unguarded crossed his face. His hand flexed at his side, as if he was fighting the same pull. Then his expression shut down. His stance locked. But his gaze didn't leave hers. Aria's heart slammed against her ribs. This can't be happening. Not now. Draven's hand closed around her arm. "Come," he said. "We have vows to speak." The contact was heavy, wrong. Her wolf recoiled from it with a snarl, even as it strained toward the other man. Aria dragged in a breath and let Draven lead her toward the altar. But she didn't break eye contact with the stranger in Blackridge colors until the last possible second. His name, she learned later, was Lucian. For now, he was just the man whose gaze felt like a hand on the back of her neck. The ceremony began as the sun slid lower and the full moon climbed. An elder from each pack read the terms of the treaty aloud. Blood was drawn into bowls. Symbols were painted on stone. Aria stood beside Draven while the ink dried on the parchment and the words echoed across the pass. Her head was clear. Her wolf was not. It paced in tight, frantic circles, fixated not on the man at her side, but on the one standing just behind him. "Do you, Aria of Silvercrest, swear to bind yourself to this alliance, to stand as Luna to Alpha Draven, to uphold the peace between your packs?" the Silvercrest elder asked. She heard her father's breathing behind her. She felt the eyes of her pack. She felt the sharp tug of the bond that was not with the male at her side. "Yes," she said, voice steady. "I swear." Her wolf snarled in protest, but it didn't break the words. The Blackridge elder turned to Draven. "Do you, Draven of Blackridge, swear to accept this bond, to hold to the terms of the treaty, to protect this Luna as you protect your own?" Draven's grip tightened on her arm. "I swear," he said. The elder lifted the blade again. "Join hands." Aria extended her left hand. Draven took it, large and calloused, hot against her skin. The elder laid the blade lightly across their joined hands, drawing a shallow cut on each. Blood welled and mingled. Magic stirred faintly in the air. The moon's light grew brighter, shining over them. Her wolf flinched, but didn't answer. The elder recited the binding words. The wind picked up. The parchment was stamped. The treaty was sealed. "Let it be witnessed," the elder finished. "War ends here." The gathered wolves lifted a cheer, some loud, some reluctant. Aria felt nothing. No click of a completed bond, no rush of shared power, no new sense of another mind brushing hers. The political ceremony was done. The mating bond was not. Draven frowned, eyes sharpening on her. He seemed to feel the lack as well. "We'll complete the rest tonight," he murmured under his breath. "Alone." Her stomach turned. Her wolf bared its teeth. Before she could answer, Lucian stepped forward to speak quietly with one of the Blackridge captains. His voice was low, but she caught one word carried on the wind. "Safe." Her head turned, drawn again. Lucian's gaze flicked to hers just for a second. Concern flickered there. It felt like a hand at the small of her back, steadying her on a steep ledge. Draven noticed. He followed her line of sight. His jaw clenched. "Lucian," he called. Lucian stepped forward smoothly. "Alpha." "Take 10 wolves," Draven said. "Escort Alpha Calder's party back to the edge of our new shared territory, then bring them home. Make sure no one disputes that the war is over." "Yes," Lucian said. "As you command." His tone was respectful, but Aria didn't miss the faint grit in it. Nor did she miss the way his eyes slid back to her one more time before he turned away. The moment they did, something in her chest tugged as though a cord had been stretched. The ride to Black Ridge territory was different from the ride out. This time, she rode surrounded by strangers, their scents sharp and unfamiliar. The trees grew denser. The air cooled even more as they climbed. Black Ridge stronghold rose out of the rock like it had been carved from the mountain itself. Dark stone walls and watchtowers looking down over the valley. Inside, it smelled of iron and winter and too many bodies. Wolves moved through the corridors with efficient, silent purpose. No one jostled her. No one welcomed her either. They looked at her like she was both prize and threat. Draven led her through halls lit by torches. "You'll have chambers adjoining mine," he said. "You'll learn our routines, our patrol patterns, our laws. You'll stand beside me in council. For now, keep your head down and your eyes open." "I don't know your wolves yet," Aria said evenly. "I'll be watching." He glanced at her. "You're not here to lead. You're here to hold peace." "I know how to do both," she replied. His mouth twisted. He seemed half amused, half annoyed. "We'll see." He pushed open a heavy door. Her new chambers were surprisingly large. A thick rug near the fireplace. A bed big enough for 2 wolves in human form. A side room with a copper tub. Another door that led, she could smell it, to his rooms. "I'll give you tonight to adjust," Draven said. "Tomorrow you'll join me in the war room. We'll show our wolves we're united." He stepped closer. His hand came up, brushing a strand of hair from her shoulder. The touch was meant to be intimate. It felt wrong on her skin. "We'll finish the bond soon," he said, "without interruptions. Then there won't be any question about where your loyalty lies." Her wolf shoved hard against her ribs in rejection. "My loyalty lies where I choose it," Aria said quietly. "To my pack, to the treaty, not blind to a man I barely know." His eyes hardened. "You'll know me soon enough." "I'm sure," she said. They stared at each other for a long moment, wills clashing. Then he stepped back. "Rest," he said. "We rise before dawn." He left without looking back. The door shut behind him with a thud that felt too final. Aria stood alone in the room that was supposed to become hers. She crossed to the window and pushed the shutters open. The view was harsh but striking. The valley fell away below, pines sharp against the snow. The moon hung over the ridgeline. Her wolf paced, restless, ears pinned back. "I feel him," she whispered, "wherever he is in this fortress." Her wolf answered with one word that hummed in her blood: "Mate." She met Lucian again at dawn. Draven took her to the training yard to show his wolves their new Luna. Warriors sparred in the snow. The air was thick with growls and the thud of bodies hitting packed earth. "Black Ridge strength," Draven said, watching them. "You'll see we didn't build our reputation on soft hearts." She scanned the yard. Her gaze snagged on a familiar figure near the far wall. Lucian moved through drills with 2 other warriors, fluid and precise. His strikes were fast, clean, economical, no wasted motion. He fought like a man who had learned to survive out of necessity, not pride. Draven beckoned him over. "Lucian," he said as he approached. "My brother, my second." Aria's breath stalled. Brother, of course. The resemblance was there, now that she knew where to look. The same dark hair, the same jawline. But where Draven's eyes were cold, Lucian's held something else. Depth, restraint. a quiet intensity that felt more dangerous than Draven's brute force. "Luna Aria," Draven said. "This is Lucian Blackridge. He'll be handling joint patrols with Silvercrest. You'll be seeing a lot of him." The words landed differently than Draven meant them. Lucian bowed his head slightly. "Luna," he said. The title sounded wrong in his mouth. Not disrespectful, just careful. "Lucian," Aria said, "thank you for escorting my father's patrol back yesterday." "Your pack travels well in snow," he said. It was an efficient route. It was a bland answer. His eyes said other things. They flicked over her face, lingering just long enough to check for signs of distress. Her wolf settled a fraction at that look. Draven clapped Lucian's shoulder. "She's to be briefed on our patrol schedules this week," he said. "Make sure she understands every inch of our borders. If she's going to carry our name, she should know what she's protecting." Lucian's jaw flexed once. "As you command." "And keep the wolves respectful," Draven added. "Anyone who questions the treaty questions me. We don't tolerate that." Lucian's gaze cooled. "You won't need to remind them, Alpha. They know the cost of disobedience." "Good," Draven said. He turned away, called another captain, and left them momentarily alone near the edge of the yard. The cold bit into Aria's cheeks. Their breath steamed in the air between them. Lucian spoke first, voice low enough that nearby ears wouldn't catch the words. "You felt it." Not a question. Aria's fingers tightened around the edge of her cloak. "You know I did." "You shouldn't look at me like that when he's watching," Lucian said. His tone was calm, but there was steel under it. "He doesn't tolerate what he sees as challenge or weakness, and he'll treat you like both if he thinks you're divided." "I'm not divided about the treaty," Aria said. "I said the vows." He held her gaze. "Your wolf doesn't care about the treaty." "No," she admitted. "She doesn't." Something flickered in his eyes. Not triumph, not satisfaction. Just a quiet, bleak acknowledgement of the same truth that had been eating at her since the ceremony. "We can't change what the bond decided," he said, "but we can decide what we do with it." The possessive edge in his scent grew stronger. He was holding himself in check with visible effort, standing close enough that she could feel his heat, but not close enough to touch. Her wolf pressed against her skin, desperate to close that gap. "We can't do anything with it," Aria said. "Not while I wear his mark and stand under his roof." His jaw tightened. "You're not mated to him." "I'm married to him by law," she said. "That still means something. To my pack, to yours." Lucian's eyes darkened. "Law doesn't override a bond like this." "Maybe not in your chest," Aria said quietly. "But it does on the ground. If I break it, the treaty fractures. My pack suffers for my choices. I won't do that." He looked at her like he wanted to argue, like he wanted to rip the treaty off the altar and burn it. But then his gaze shifted, flicking to the warriors watching from the yard. He swallowed it back. "You intend to stay," he said. "For now," she replied, "until I know my pack is stable, until I know this peace is real." "And if it isn't?" he asked. She held his gaze. "Then I don't answer to Draven. I answer to my Alpha and to my wolf. Somehow we'll find a way through that doesn't leave my pack buried in the crossfire." He studied her for a long, quiet moment. "You're stronger than he expected," Lucian said finally. "He thought he was getting a piece on the board, not another player." "I know what I am," Aria said. "I also know what I'm not. I'm not here to undermine you, or him. I'm here to keep my people alive." "And what about you?" Lucian asked. It was a simple question. Somehow it cut deeper than the others. "Who keeps you alive in all this?" Her answer should have been easy. "Myself." But his presence complicated everything. The pull between them hummed just under her skin. "I will," she said, "and I'll get what help I can." Lucian's expression shifted. The protective edge sharpened. "Then understand this, Aria of Silvercrest," he said, voice low. "Treaty or not, law or not, I'm not leaving you alone in this house with him. If he ever puts his hands on you in a way you don't want, if he ever corners you, you come to me. You don't endure it because of some promise made over ink and stone." The words wrapped around her like a shield, possessive, not in the way Draven claimed ownership, in the way a wolf stood between danger and what he called his. Her pulse jumped. That would put you in direct conflict with him. "I've been in conflict with him most of my life," Lucian said. "This wouldn't be the first time." "Why stay as his second, then?" she asked. "Because if I'm not here, worse men are," he said simply. "Because my wolves deserve someone who won't leave them to Draven's temper. Because if I'm gone, he tears this place apart from the inside. And because I didn't know my mate was standing on the other side of a border I've been defending for 10 years. His voice roughened on the last sentence. Her wolf shivered. Any other male, and she would have stepped back from words like that. But nothing about this was normal. "I'm not going to sneak around behind his back," she said, clear. "If we're going to talk, it stays at this. It stays contained." "Talking," he repeated, one corner of his mouth tugging despite himself. "Right." The longing between them didn't feel contained at all. It felt like a dam holding back a flood. Draven called Lucian's name across the yard, cutting the moment off. "We'll start the patrol maps review at midday," Lucian said. "I'll send for you." He turned away before she could answer, jaw set, shoulders tense. Every line of him announced control. Every line of her wolf announced they both knew it was strained. They worked together. That was how it started. Lucian laid out the patrol routes on the war room table, voice low and precise as he explained how Blackridge watched their borders. Aria pointed out blind spots from the Silvercrest side, suggesting shifts that would cover both packs more effectively. It was professional. It was necessary. It also meant hours in the same room, close enough to feel the air move when he breathed. Her wolf knew exactly how many inches separated their hands when they both reached for the same map. Days bled into weeks. Draven kept her busy. Council meetings, supply discussions, walks through the village so his wolves could see their Luna at his side. He kept a hand on her arm often, not gentle, staking his claim through touch. The bond didn't answer him. Aria felt nothing when his skin met hers except resistance. At night he knocked on the inner door only once. He stood in the doorway, eyes scanning her room, weighing something. "The bond didn't take," he said. "It took," she replied calmly. "Just not with you." His eyes narrowed. "You think I don't feel it? You think I don't see when you look at Lucian like you're starving?" Her spine stiffened. "I haven't done anything." "Yet," he said. They stared at each other across the threshold. "You want honesty?" Aria asked. "Here it is. The bond chose him. I didn't ask for that. You didn't either. But the treaty stands. I won't break it. Not for my own comfort. Not to satisfy something my wolf wants. I won't give you that excuse to march on my homeland again." Draven's jaw clenched. Rage rolled off him. "You talk like you're the only one who sacrificed something," he snapped. "You think I wanted a wife from an enemy pack? I wanted security. I wanted leverage. And I got a Luna whose eyes keep sliding to my brother." "You got someone who will stand beside you in council," she said. "Who will help your people not starve through winter. Who will put herself between your temper and wolves who can't fight back. If you're smart, you'll use what you did get instead of fixating on what you didn't." His nostrils flared. "Careful!" She didn't back down. "You can't beat a bond into submission, Draven. You can only decide what kind of alpha you're going to be about it." The air between them snapped like a live wire. For a second, she thought he would cross the room and shove her against the wall, not in desire, but in fury. Her wolf braced to fight, hackles up. Then he stepped back instead, slowly, deliberately. "You're right about one thing," he said. "I can't make your wolf answer me, but I can decide what kind of alpha I am, and I won't be the one remembered as too weak to keep his Luna from crawling to another male in the dark." If you touch him because of me, she began. If he comes for you because of this bond, Draven cut in, then he's the one breaking the treaty. You remember that. He shut the door between their rooms with a decisive thud. She didn't seek Lucian out after that. He found her anyway, in the quiet moments between duties, in the stable when she checked on the horses, on the ramparts when she needed air and space. Sometimes they spoke about patrols and supply lines. Sometimes they talked about smaller things. The way the snow fell differently on this side of the ridge, the noise of the village when food was plentiful versus when it wasn't. Stories from childhood that had nothing to do with war. He rarely smiled fully, but when he did, it hit her like sunlight in winter. They kept their distance physically. That line held. Most nights. One evening, a storm rolled in earlier than expected. Wind howled along the towers. Snow slammed against the windows. Draven was gone with a scouting party, chasing rumors of rogue wolves near the eastern border. Aria walked the halls, restless. The fortress felt different without Draven's heavy presence. Looser, less guarded. The wolves they passed looked at her with a mix of curiosity and wariness, but not fear. She found herself on the south balcony, overlooking the training yard. Snow blurred the view. The air bit at her skin, but she welcomed the sting. It felt real. You'll freeze out here. Lucian's voice came from the doorway. She turned. He stood there with a cloak in his hands, one brow raised. I'm fine, she said. I've lived through worse. Put it on anyway, he said, draping the cloak over her shoulders before she could argue. His fingers brushed her neck as he settled the fur-lined collar. Heat shot down her spine at the contact. Her wolf surged up, shoving against the thin wall of control she'd been maintaining. She stepped forward to put distance between them. It didn't help. The cloak smelled like him. What does he want with rogues near the eastern border? She asked, staring out into the snow. We used to hear rumors too. They were more nuisance than threat. They're not just rogues, Lucian said, moving to stand beside her, not quite touching. They're deserters. Wolves who broke from both packs over the years and formed their own. Draven has never liked loose ends. And you? She asked. Do you like loose ends? I hate them, he said, because they always come back to cut someone. She watched the snow swirl. How long will he be gone? 2 days? Maybe 3? The air changed with those words. It wasn't anything either of them did. It was the sudden awareness that the one person who kept a tight grip on their leashes wasn't in the building. Her heart thudded. We should use that time to check the Western Patrol overlap, she said. I saw a gap on the last map. Aria. His voice was low. Warning, plea, everything at once. She gripped the stone railing until her knuckles went white. You think I don't feel it every time you walk into a room? Every time you stand beside me and pretend we're just 2 wolves discussing border markers? I don't pretend, he said roughly. I survive. Her throat tightened. I know what happens if we cross a line. For you, for me, for 2 packs that are already hanging by threads. I won't let my wolf drag us into that. Silence stretched. Then Lucian moved. He stepped in front of her, hands braced on the stone on either side of her, not pinning her, just blocking the wind and the world. His chest was an inch from hers, his eyes storm dark. I'm not asking you to break your word, he said. I'm not asking you to run. I'm asking you to stop pretending that you're the only one holding us back from something dangerous. Her breath shook. You are dangerous. So are you, he said. You walked into a rival stronghold, stared down my brother, and told him you wouldn't be his puppet. Don't tell me you're fragile. I never said I was fragile, she replied. I said I'm responsible. His gaze dropped to her mouth, then back up. His hands flexed on the stone. I think about you every time I close my eyes, he said quietly. I smell your scent in rooms you just left. I hear your voice on the training grounds when you're nowhere near them. I feel the bond pulling me across this fortress like a leash, and the only thing that keeps me from following it straight through Draven's door is the fact that you're standing here fighting it too." Her wolf keened softly in her chest at his honesty. "Lucian," she whispered, "if you kiss me now, I don't know if I can stop." He exhaled, a rough, broken sound. "That's exactly why I won't," he said. He pushed off the stone and stepped back, putting space between them. It felt like ripping skin. "We can't keep doing this," he said, "passing in halls, sharing plans, pretending it's just duty when every part of me is counting the ways Draven could use this against you." "So what do you suggest?" she asked, voice raw. "That we avoid each other completely? How does that help your wolves? Mine? It doesn't," he said, "which means we choose a worse option in the short term to get to a better one later." Her brows drew together. "What worse option?" "Secrets," he said. "Private meetings where we can actually talk, without every eye in the fortress measuring your reactions and reporting them to him." "You want to sneak around?" she said. "That looks worse if he finds out." "It looks worse if he watches you crack in public," Lucian said. "If he sees you flinch every time the bond pulls, he'll take that as insult, not pain, and he hurts what insults him." Her stomach twisted. She hated how right he was. "Where?" she asked. "There's an old watchtower on the north side," he said. "No one uses it. The stairwell collapsed halfway up years ago. We sealed it off officially. I unsealed it unofficially." "Of course you did," she murmured. "Midnight," he said. "2 nights from now, after he returns, he'll be busy debriefing his captains. No one will miss us for an hour." Her heart hammered. "Lucian." "We do this on purpose," he said. "Or it happens by accident. And accidents get people killed in this house. If we're going to manage this bond, we need a place to be honest about it." She closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them again. "Fine," she said. "Midnight, 1 hour, no more." "Agreed," he said. He left the balcony without touching her again. Her wolf watched him go, restless and aching. Aria stayed where she was until the snow soaked through her boots and the cold finally numbed the heat under her skin. The watchtower smelled of old stone and dust. The stairwell really had collapsed halfway up. Lucian had cleared enough space in the lower room for a small table and 2 stools, a lantern casting a dim pool of light over them. "You really prepared for this," Aria said as she slipped inside and closed the door. "I prepare for things that matter," Lucian said. "Sit." She did. The tower was quiet. No footsteps overhead, no voices bleeding through the walls. For the first time since crossing the border, she felt unwatched. The tension eased a fraction from her shoulders. "We set rules," she said, "or this goes nowhere but bad." Lucian nodded. "Rules, then." "1," she said. "No touching, beyond what's unavoidable. We don't give this bond any more fuel than it already has." His eyes flicked to her hands and back. "No touching," he repeated. 2, we don't lie in this room. Not about the bond, not about what we want. We have to be honest somewhere, Aria." She swallowed. "Fair." 3, Lucian continued. "We use this time to figure out how to get you out of this without your pack paying the price." Her chest tightened. "You think there's a way?" "There has to be," he said. "Treaty or not, no council can force a Luna to be bound to the wrong Alpha if the true bond is pulling hard enough. There are laws older than Draven's ego and your father's fear." "Ancient mate laws?" she asked. He nodded. "If we can prove the bond between us in front of both councils, if we can show that your wolf rejected his mark, there are grounds to void the marriage on magical, not political terms. It would mean calling both packs together again. It would mean challenging Draven's claim in public." "That sounds like a good way to start another war," she said. "It's also the only way out that doesn't involve running away and leaving everyone else to fight the fallout," he said. They stared at each other. "You'd challenge him," she said softly. "Wouldn't you?" Lucian didn't hesitate. "Yes. even if it means tearing your pack apart. My pack is already tearing, he said. They're held together by fear and habit. If there's a chance to give them an alpha who doesn't rule by bruises, I'll take it, even if it means bleeding for it. The possessive edge in his voice when he talked about his wolves matched the one when he talked about her. It was all the same instinct. Protect, guard, stand between and take the hit. Her wolf wanted to lean into that. We don't move until we know my pack can survive it, Aria said. Silvercrest is just starting to recover. If your challenge fails, Draven will take it out on them first. So we gather information, Lucian said. We learn who in his ranks would back a change, who's tired of his temper, who's only staying out of fear. We figure out how much of Blackridge is already halfway ready to follow someone else. And if you're wrong? She asked. He met her gaze, steady. Then I die trying to do right by you and by them instead of spending the rest of my life watching him break both. Her breath hitched. She wanted to demand he value his own life more. She also knew what it meant to love a pack enough to die for it. Fine, she said. We plan. We watch. We don't act until we're sure. Agreed, he said. They met in that tower more than once, not every night. That would have drawn suspicion. But often enough that the watchtower became the only place Aria's shoulders truly dropped. They spoke in low voices about council members and border tensions, about the first winter Lucian spent as acting alpha when Draven was away at war, about the way Silvercrest celebrated births and mourned deaths. They shared bread some nights, when she managed to smuggle it out of the kitchens. They shared silence on others, just breathing the same air. They didn't touch. Not with hands. The bond did enough touching for both of them. It couldn't last. Aria knew it the night Draven walked into the war room with eyes like a storm and a paper clenched in his fist. Traitor, he snarled, slamming the paper onto the table so hard the inkpot jumped. She picked it up. The handwriting wasn't familiar. It didn't need to be. The words were enough. Whispers about Lucian and the Luna meeting in secret. A description of the watchtower, detailed enough that whoever wrote it had seen them with their own eyes. A hint that they were planning more than just council strategy. Her stomach turned. The room swayed for a second. Who wrote this? She asked. It doesn't matter, Draven said. What matters is what it says. I thought you had more discipline than this, Aria. His voice dripped contempt. His wolves watched from the edges of the room, eyes wide. Lucian stood by the far wall, jaw clenched, gaze locked on the paper. We met to talk about the treaty, Aria said, lifting her chin. About patrols, about keeping both packs safe. If you think for a second I would risk my people's lives to satisfy a bond we've both been ignoring, you don't know me as well as you think. You think I care what you were talking about? Draven snapped. You were alone, in secret, with my brother, after we both felt the bond snap into place between you. Do you know what wolves like to do with secrets like that? Use them, Lucian said quietly. The way someone is using this now. Draven rounded on him. You keep your mouth shut, he said. You had one job, Lucian. Stand at my side, keep my wolves in line, and instead you're dragging your alpha's Luna into shadows like some rutting teenager. Lucian's eyes flashed. I dragged her nowhere, he said. She's not a thing to be dragged. Enough, Draven roared. His alpha power slammed into the room like a physical force. Several wolves flinched. A few dropped their gazes. Aria's wolf braced her feet and shoved back. She was not Blackridge born, but she was Alpha's daughter. Power answered her, not to undermine, but to stand. We can stand here and trade insults, she said, voice cutting through the tension. Or we can address the actual threat. What threat? Draven snapped. More meetings? The fact that someone in this fortress is willing to feed you half-truths that could shatter the treaty, she said. That letter wasn't written to protect you. It was written to provoke you. And if you react the way they want, if you attack him, or me, or Silvercrest, You're doing their work for them. Draven's nostrils flared. You think my own wolves are scheming against me? I think any house built on fear has cracks you don't see, Aria said. Someone wants this alliance broken. Maybe a Blackridge traditionalist who hates Silvercrest. Maybe a rogue who profits from chaos. Maybe someone outside both packs. Either way, giving them the spectacle of you tearing your own brother apart in front of the council is exactly the kind of fracture they're hoping for. He stared at her, breathing hard. Lucian's gaze moved between them, sharp and calculating. We can find the source of this, he said, if you give us time, and refrain from giving them exactly the blood they're trying to draw. Draven's focus snapped to him. Us? I'll find them, Lucian said. You know I can. And Aria can read the Silvercrest side of any trail I miss. We're more useful to you as hunters than as targets right now. The possessive protectiveness in his voice wasn't softened. He wasn't pretending he didn't care. He was using that care as leverage. Draven's jaw worked. He looked like a man trying to decide whether to punch a wall or a face. Fine, he bit out. You have 3 days. Find me the wolf who wrote this. Find me proof that they meant more than gossip. If you fail, I take the punishment straight to the source I can see. His gaze flicked between them. The threat was clear. Deal, Aria said, before Lucian could speak. Let us do what you keep us around for, Draven. We're good at seeing what you miss. You're good at making me regret signing that parchment, he muttered. He stalked out of the war room, shoving past a young warrior so hard the boy hit the wall. The room exhaled when he left. Lucian crossed to her side, voice low. Watchtower tonight? Yes, she said. But not to talk about us. We hunt. They spent the next nights not in quiet conversation, but on the move. Lucian had his own web of loyal wolves within Blackridge, ones who owed him more than they owed Draven. He sent them to listen in the barracks, the kitchens, the training yards. Aria quietly reached out to the Silvercrest warriors stationed as part of the joint patrol exchange, gathering what rumors had made their way across the border. A pattern emerged. A name repeated too often in the wrong places. Garen, a Blackridge captain with too much ambition and not enough restraint. He had been the loudest voice against the treaty when it was first proposed. He'd lost status when Draven went through with it anyway. He stood to gain if the alliance fractured and Blackridge returned to all-out war. The final proof came from an unexpected source. An Omega in the kitchen, hands shaking as she passed Aria a folded scrap of parchment when no one was looking. He thought we couldn't read, the woman whispered. He dictated it in front of us, said it would correct a mistake. I kept this. Burn it after. The handwriting matched the anonymous letter. Lucian spread both notes on the tower table, jaw tight. We have him, he said. We have his hand, Aria replied. We need his intent, in front of witnesses, or Draven will say it's just wounded pride instead of actual sabotage. Lucian's eyes darkened. Leave that to me. The next council session was loud even before Draven arrived. The wolves felt the tension in the air. They always did. Garen stood near the center of the room, arms folded, posture smug. His eyes flicked to Aria with open disdain and to Lucian with thinly veiled scorn. Draven entered last. His presence crushed the hum of voices down to silence. You have something for me, he said to Lucian. Yes, Lucian said. We found your letter writer. Murmurs rippled. Garen straightened, expression hardening. Lucian lifted the anonymous note and the copy from the kitchen. These were both written by Garen, he said. The first to you, the second dictated in front of Omega witnesses. Both designed to throw suspicion on the Luna and on me, and to push you toward action that would shatter the treaty. Garen snorted. I reported what I saw. The Luna slipping off to meet her lover in an abandoned tower. Forgive me for thinking you might want to know, Alpha. Is that how you phrased it when you dictated this? Aria asked, stepping forward. Or did you talk about breaking mistakes and putting Silvercrest in its place? Color rose on Garen's neck. Watch your tone, he snapped. You sit here because of a piece of paper, not because you earned respect in this house. My father's warriors bled on the same snow as yours did, Aria said. Respect was earned on those fields, whether you like it or not. And I'm not the one trying to reignite the war for my ego. Enough, Draven growled. Garen, did you write this to push me into breaking the treaty? Garen spread his hands. I wrote it because your Luna is sharing more than maps with your brother. The room bristled. Lucian moved before Aria could. He stepped into Garen's space, not touching, eyes flat and dangerous. Careful, he said. Choose your next words with the understanding that they might be your last. Garen looked around the room, seeking support, finding less than he expected. Wolves shifted away instead of lining up at his back. You've all seen it, he said, louder now, desperate. How they look at each other, how they disappear at the same time. You think that's about patrol routes? Draven's gaze swung to Aria. Answer him. She lifted her chin. We met in the tower, she said, to talk strategy, to find ways to keep this alliance from breaking under the weight of old wounds and new mistrust. We did it in secret because we knew that wolves like Garen would twist it into something filthy for their own gain. You expect me to believe you never— Garen started. Lucian's growl cut him off. Finish that sentence and I'll take your tongue as payment. Aria's wolf surged. Enough. She stepped forward until she stood between Lucian and Garen, not as a shield for Garen, but as a line drawn in blood. You want the truth? She said, raising her voice so every wolf in the chamber could hear. Here it is. The bond chose my mate the moment I stepped onto this mountain. It chose Lucian, not Draven. Silence slammed into the room. Even the torches seemed to still. Draven's face went white, then scarlet. Lucian's chest rose and fell like he'd been punched. I didn't ask for it, Aria said, steady despite the pounding of her heart. Neither did he. But we have both honored the treaty you signed. We have kept our distance. We have not crossed the lines we set for ourselves. The only one trying to break your precious alliance is the wolf who wrote that letter in hopes that your rage would do the rest. She turned to face Draven fully. You're not stupid, she said. You know how bonds work. You know they don't bow to politics. You also know I could have run. I didn't. I stayed. I've stood beside you in council. I've helped your wolves get through this winter without starving. I've bled for patrols that weren't mine. If you throw all of that away because Garen wants you to, then you're not an alpha. You're a weapon for lesser wolves to point. The insult hung sharp and bright in the air. Draven took a step toward her, power rising like a tide. The wolves closest to him flinched back. You call me a weapon, he said softly. Too softly. I call you better than this, she replied. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here. The room held its breath. Draven's gaze burned into her. For a long moment, nothing moved. Then he turned his head slowly toward Garen. You wrote this, he said. With the intent of using my temper to start a war I chose to end. Garen swallowed. I reported. You lied by omission, Draven said. You left out the part where it was your ambition that couldn't stand peace, where you'd rather see two packs at each other's throats again than accept that the world changed without your permission. He stepped closer. You tried to turn me into your weapon. You failed, and for that, you'll answer. Garen's bravado cracked. Alpha— Draven moved fast, too fast for most eyes. His hand closed around Garen's throat, lifting him off his feet. Wolves shouted. Some surged forward out of habit, then stopped when Lucian raised a hand, holding them back. Exile or death? Lucian asked quietly. Draven snarled. If I send him into the snow, he becomes the rogue problem we've been tracking for years. No, this ends here. He snapped Garen's neck with a single brutal twist. The body hit the floor. The room shuddered. Aria's stomach roiled at the violence, but she couldn't deny one thing. Draven had chosen his target correctly, for once. Let that be a lesson, Draven said, voice cold. You don't get to use me. You don't get to decide my wars for me. You don't get to threaten my pack, or my Luna." His gaze slid to Lucian as he said the last word. There was no warmth in it. But there was calculation. The war could have ended there. The letter exposed. The traitor dead. The truth of the bond dragged into the open. But some wounds were too deep to be cauterized with a single act. Word of the confrontation spread. Most wolves accepted the outcome, relieved that the treaty still stood. A smaller faction, loyal to Garen's view of glory through battle, didn't. They struck at dawn 3 days later. Aria woke to the sound of metal clashing and howls echoing through the stone. She was on her feet before she fully understood, hand reaching for the dagger under her pillow. The corridor outside her chamber was chaos. Wolves in partial shifts, guards rushing toward the main hall. The air stank of fear and blood. Lucian appeared in her doorway like he had been drawn there by instinct alone, chest heaving, sword already bloody. "With me," he said, grabbing a spare blade off her wall and tossing it to her. "What's happening?" she demanded, already moving. "Garen's loyalists," he said. "They think killing you and me will force Draven back into war. They're hitting the stronghold from inside and the border from outside at the same time." "Silvercrest?" she asked sharply. "Under attack," he said. "Joint Patrol sent word before the signal fires cut out. They timed this well." Her heart slammed. "My father is still breathing as of the last report," Lucian said. "We get to the war room. We stabilize this side. Then we take whoever's left and hold that border." They fought their way through the halls. Aria was no stranger to blades. Silvercrest trained their alpha's heir like any warrior. She moved through the chaos with grim efficiency, cutting down a wolf who lunged for a frightened Omega, elbowing another in the throat when he grabbed her cloak. Lucian stayed close, not hovering, guarding. He watched the angles she couldn't see, taking hits meant for her, putting his body between her and any threat that came from behind. The possessive protectiveness in him wasn't subtle now. It burned. They burst into the war room to find Draven already there, back to the map, blood on his knuckles, eyes wild. "Took you long enough," he growled. "We're under attack on 2 fronts, my own wolves and yours. If this is what your bond brings, Aria, I'm unimpressed." "This is what Garen planted weeks ago," she shot back, moving to the table. "You just didn't listen fast enough." "Our joint patrol?" Lucian demanded, scanning the map. "Pinned at the South Ravine," Draven said. "Your father's holding the ridge with a handful of warriors. If it breaks, Silvercrest falls and Blackridge's flank gets torn open. We lose both packs in one stroke." "Then we don't let it break," Aria said. She grabbed one of the token markers and shoved it forward. "We pull back the East Patrol. They come up through the Pine Pass, flank the traitors from behind. Lucian takes 20 of your best and cuts through the courtyard to clear a path to the west gate. I'll lead a strike team through the old smuggler's tunnel to hit the ravine from below." Draven stared. "You think I'm letting you out there? You're barely holding this place together and you want to run into the worst of it?" "My pack is out there," she said. "My father is out there. Your wolves are out there too. If we sit here and shuffle markers while they bleed, we lose more than territory. We lose any right to their loyalty." Lucian nodded once. "She's right," he said. "You keep this room. Direct reinforcements. If we fall, you're the last line. But if we never go, your war room becomes a tomb." Draven's eyes burned between them. His envy, his suspicion, his grudging respect all tangled together. "Fine," he snapped. "But if either of you run—" "We're running toward the fight," Aria said, "not away from it." He grabbed her wrist before she could turn. "You die out there," he said, rough, "and this alliance dies with you." She looked at the hand on her skin, then back at his face. "Then send someone who wants it to live," she said, "and get your hand off me." He released her. The battle at the ravine was loud and close and brutal. Snow turned red under their boots. Wolves in both forms clashed in the narrow cut between the rocks, snarls and shouts echoing off the walls. The air stank of iron. Aria's lungs burned as she drove her blade into a traitor's side. Lucian ripped another off a Silvercrest warrior, shifting mid-leap to tear the man's throat out in wolf form before shifting back, fur matted with blood. They moved as a unit, not because they trained together, but because the bond synced them. When she ducked, he was already moving to cover the opening. When he surged forward, she was at his flank. Her father stood on the ridge, blood on his face, arm hanging useless at his side, but eyes sharp. "About time," Calder called when he saw her. "Took the scenic route?" "You taught me to assess before I leap," she shot back, cutting down another enemy who lunged for the Alpha's back. The Loyalists had expected Draven to hesitate, to sit in his stronghold and rage instead of act. They hadn't planned for Aria and Lucian leading a counterattack that hit them from angles they thought were secure. Slowly the tide turned. Wolves who had joined Garen out of fear or momentum faltered when they realized the majority of their pack wasn't behind them. Some surrendered. Others fought to the last breath. When the final traitor fell, the ravine fell quiet, except for harsh breathing and low whimpers from the wounded. Aria's arm throbbed where a blade had grazed her. Her side ached. Her chest felt like it was both hollow and too full. Lucian's hand found her elbow, steadying her as she swayed. "Easy," he murmured. "You're still standing. Don't push past what your body can do." "You're bleeding," she said, seeing the cut along his ribs. "We both are," he replied. "We'll fix it later." Calder limped down the slope toward them. "I see the rumors were true," he said, looking between Aria and Lucian. "Your wolves smell like each other." Aria flinched. "Father." He held up his good hand. "I'm not blind, Aria. I felt it the moment I saw you stand together on that ridge. I also saw who ran into the fight first when this broke open." His gaze shifted to Lucian. "You could have let Draven tear her apart over that letter," he said. "Used it as an excuse to finally step out from under his shadow. Instead, you walked into the fire with her. Why?" Lucian didn't answer with pretty words. He just looked at Aria, then back at Calder. "Because she's mine," he said simply, "and because your pack and mine deserve better than dying for one wolf's ambition." Calder studied him, then he nodded once. "I believe you," he said. "Now we just have to convince everyone else." The councils met again on the same stretch of stone where the first treaty had been signed. The air was different this time, less brittle, more expectant. Blackridge wolves stood with Silvercrest in a loose circle. The bodies of the traitors had been buried. Their absence left gaps in the lines. Some would never be filled. Others waited for new wolves to step forward and claim them. Draven faced Aria and Lucian across the altar. His face was hard. His eyes were less cold than before, but not warm. "You want the treaty rewritten," he said. "Yes," Aria replied. "You want the marriage voided," he added. "Yes," she said again. "On what grounds?" "On the grounds that the bond never formed between us," she said. The night of the ceremony, there was no connection, no shared power, only blood spilled on stone and a vow made with half the truth. The bond chose Lucian. You felt it. We all did. We honored the treaty anyway. We protected both packs when your own wolves tried to destroy what you built. Calder stepped forward. "Your Luna bled for my warriors at the ravine," he said. "Your second stood between my heir and death twice in one morning. Whatever you think of their bond, Draven, their loyalty to both packs is not in question." The Blackridge elders murmured. Some nodded. Others watched Draven with strained patience. Lucian met his brother's gaze. "You know I'll challenge you if I have to," he said. "Not because I hate you, because I won't watch you throw more wolves away for pride, but I'd rather not tear this pack apart with a formal duel if there's another path." Draven's mouth curved in something that wasn't quite a smile. You always did prefer the hard road, he said. Talking, planning, trying to line up every piece before you move. I move, and pieces fall where they may. That's why we balance each other, Lucien said. When you let us. The words hung between them, heavy with years of tangled history. Draven looked at Aria, then at Lucien, then out at the wolves gathered on both sides of the altar. Speak plainly, he said to the crowd. How many of you think this marriage should stand? No one moved, not a single hand raised, not out of fear, out of something harder to fake, hard-earned awareness. How many of you think binding these two, Draven continued, jerking his chin at Aria and Lucien, is the better path? For the packs, not for their hearts, for survival. Hands lifted. Not all. Enough. Enough warriors who had fought alongside them in the ravine to trust their leadership. Enough Omegas who had watched Aria intervene between Draven and their bruises. Enough elders who remembered older laws, older stories about bonds that didn't respect political lines. Draven exhaled slowly. You turned my pack against me, he said to Lucien. Careful, little brother, that looks like a coup. They turn toward what keeps them alive, Lucien replied. You can join them, or you can stand alone and call that power. Silence stretched. Then Draven laughed. It wasn't a pleasant sound, but it wasn't entirely bitter either. You always wanted the throne, he said. Looks like the bond did what you never could. Lucien's jaw tightened. This isn't about throne. It is now, Draven said. But I'm not giving it up because some magic string tied you to my almost Luna. He stepped onto the stone altar, boots ringing against it. You want this rewritten? He said. We do it properly. Old laws, old ways. We call the bond down in front of both packs. We see where it settles. And if it settles where we already know it does, then I stand down. Not as a beaten alpha, as one who chose not to fight a battle he'd already lost. Aria's breath caught. You'd step aside? If the bond lights up for you two the way it never did for us, Draven said, if both packs accept it. I'm not blind, Aria. I've seen what you and Lucien did at that ravine. I've seen the way my wolves listen when you speak. I've seen the way his presence keeps this house from cracking. His gaze hardened. But if I step aside, you don't get to blame me for every choice you make after. You don't get to say, Draven forced us into this. You take it with both hands and all the weight that comes with it. Lucien nodded. Agreed. The ritual was simple. The elders drew a circle of ash and salt around the altar. Aria stepped inside first. Lucien joined her. Draven stood at the edge, a witness and a test. Call your wolf, the elder said. Aria closed her eyes, let the noise of the gathered wolves fade, reached inward. Her wolf rose at once, pressing against her skin, answering the call like it had been awake and waiting for this moment. She felt Lucien's wolf do the same on the other side of the circle, a deep, steady presence that had become as familiar as her own heartbeat. Speak your truth, the elder said. Aria opened her eyes and looked at Lucien. My truth is that the bond chose you, she said. My truth is that I resented it, fought it, hated what it demanded, and still I couldn't deny that every time I ran toward danger, you were already there. Not because of magic, because of who you are. I don't stand here because the bond dragged me. I stand here because, after everything we've seen, I choose you. Lucien's jaw flexed. His eyes burned. My truth, he said, voice rough, is that the first time I looked at you, I wanted to tear the world open and rebuild it somewhere you'd never have to bleed again. My truth is that I've spent my life holding this house together while my brother broke it, and I never thought I'd get to build anything of my own, until you stepped over that border and looked at me like I was more than just his shadow. I don't stand here because I'm tired of being second. I stand here because if I don't, I'll regret it more than any mistake I've made in battle. The elder nodded. Let the bond answer. The circle flared. Light surged up from the ash, white gold and sharp, twining around their ankles, racing up their legs, wrapping around their joined hands when Lucian reached for her without thinking. They both gasped as the power locked into place. This was nothing like the empty nothing she'd felt with Draven. This was a rush of heat and strength and shared awareness. Her wolf roared, finally, fully met. His wolf answered, wrapping around hers, not to cage her, but to stand with her. The light arced above their heads, then snapped inward, sealing something bright and unbreakable in their chests. The gathered wolves staggered back, blinking. Even Draven flinched at the intensity. When the light faded, the circle's ash had turned to glass. The elder's voice shook slightly as he spoke. "The bond is undeniable," he said. "In the eyes of our laws, this is the mating that counts. The previous union, made without magic's agreement, is void." Calder exhaled, shoulders dropping. Several Blackridge elders nodded, some reluctantly, some with clear relief. All eyes turned to Draven. He looked at Aria, at Lucian, at the wolves who had followed him through war and now waited to see what kind of alpha he would be in peace. "You have what you wanted," he said to them. "Each other, the packs, the throne I was never meant to keep." His gaze hardened. "Don't waste it. If you do, they won't remember me as the tyrant. They'll remember you as the fools who inherited 2 packs and lost them to indecision." Lucian bowed his head. "We won't waste it," he said. "Stay. Fight with us. Train the ones who listen to strength more than sense. You don't have to disappear just because you're not at the top of the hill." Draven snorted. "We'll see." He stepped back from the altar. The circle was broken. The new treaty was written in simpler words. No political marriage clauses, no hostages, no leverage. It named Lucian and Aria as co-ruling alphas over a united territory, with Calder recognized as elder council over Silvercrest lands until he chose to step down. It laid out shared patrols, joint councils, and a binding promise that disputes would be brought to the circle before they were brought to the battlefield. Aria signed it first. Her hand didn't shake. Lucian signed next, his name a firm stroke. Draven hesitated for a heartbeat, then scrawled his name as witness, the ink dark and final. When it was done, the parchment lay between them like something fragile and strong at once. "Peace, then," Calder said quietly. "For as long as we can hold it," Aria replied. Lucian's hand found hers under the table. Not hidden from fear this time, just private. Her wolf leaned into the touch. Later, when the councils dispersed and the sun slid low over the mountains, Aria and Lucian stood alone on the ridge above the valley that was now theirs together. Wind tugged at her hair. His cloak brushed her hand. "We did it," she said softly. "Somehow." "We survived it," he said. "That's a start." She turned to face him fully. "Do you regret any of it?" she asked. "The way it happened, the timing, the fight." His eyes traced her face like he was memorizing it. "I regret that you had to bleed for a treaty you didn't write," he said. "I regret that your first days in my home were spent bracing against my brother instead of settling into a life you chose. I regret every bruise this place gave you." He lifted a hand slowly, giving her time to pull back. She didn't. His fingers brushed her cheek, gentle. The first deliberate touch between them that wasn't about battle or bracing. "But I don't regret you," he said. "Not for a second." Heat rose in her chest, soft and fierce. "Good," she said. "I'd hate to be the only one carrying that." He huffed a quiet laugh. "Aria?" he murmured. "Yes?" "I'm going to kiss you now," he said. "Without guilt, without hiding, because you're my mate, and I've been holding this back since the first time I saw you on that frozen border." "Then stop warning me," she said, "and do it." He did. The kiss wasn't gentle at first. It was pent up and possessive, and full of all the times they'd stood inches apart and pretended they didn't want this. She met him with matching heat, fingers curling in his cloak, pulling him closer. Their wolves rose together, not clashing, but twining, finally allowed to touch the way they'd been straining to. When they broke apart, breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. "The packs," he murmured. "Still here," she said, "still watching, still waiting to see what we do next." He smiled against her mouth. "Then we show them," he said, "what it looks like when peace is built on something stronger than fear. Something like a stubborn alpha's daughter, and a second who shouldn't have been second," she said. "Something like that," he agreed. They stood together on the ridge, the weight of 2 packs on their shoulders and the bond burning steady in their chests. War had forced Aria into a union she didn't choose. The bond had dragged Lucian into a future he never expected. But standing there, side by side, they knew one thing with absolute certainty. The treaty had started on paper. From now on, it would be written in choices they made together, and this time it would be written in love's favor.